You have this thing that you think you're supposed to be, and you have this thing that you are.
Yeah.
And the more variety there are between those two, the greater the distance, worse the mental turbulence. That fracture, that kind of falling apart of all these pieces gives you the beautiful opportunity to pick the pieces you want and reconstruct it, you know?
True, man.
So just go through. The only way out is through, man. Go. If you think you're going crazy, go f***ing crazy. You know, just don't hurt. Try not to hurt anybody.
Yeah. How's your voice feeling, man?
Fine. It's not painful. I just get usually it hangs on longer than this, but I've been talking a lot more on this tour.
Why is that?
I've been better about interacting. I'm trying to be better about spending more time at the merch booth and stuff like that, rather than, you know, trying to preserve my social battery. I'm trying to, grow that muscle a bit more.
Yeah.
You know,
it is a muscle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It is, dude. For like the longest time, I call it, you're just desensitizing yourself by doing something repeatedly that you're not exactly comfortable doing.
Oh, yeah.
And it seemed pointless. Like for me, I go to a lot of shows around here, and it wasn't exactly comfortable because now I guess you say I'm like the face of the band, so I'm trying to like go to all the shows and just show face for the band, and out of nowhere, just after a couple of years, it clicked, and now I enjoy doing it. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Something that being social with people, being an introvert, now it's like I seek it out. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird. Like, my whole life, I was like, oh, you're not that social person. Like, it's not you. But then after a while, it's like it's switched. There's a fucking switch. It was nuts.
Man. Yeah. That's why it's really important to not get too entrenched in these ideas about yourself being this or being that. Like, I'm an introvert. I'm this. I'm not. You know. I'm not him. I'm not this. For now, that's what you are right now. And I think people underestimate how significantly your relationship on things can shift if you're just willing to suffer through that. It's like going to the gym. It's like going into an ice bath. You know what I mean? It's like a psychological ice bath, you know, for introverts going into a venue and being like, what's up, guys? Da, 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 da. Tell me about your band, you know?
Yeah.
Even though there's a big party that wants to know those things. You know, it's not as though that, you know, I can only speak for myself, that even though I have a hard time having those interactions to the extent that I have the availability to, it's not as though it's a lack of interest. Like I want to shake all the hands, and I want to know all the stories about the connections to the music and stuff.
Yeah.
It just gets to, it's kind of like a fatigue, like at the gym. You know what I mean? You can only do so many push-ups before, even if you want to do more. You know what I mean? Before your body's just like, bro, that's all we got.
Yeah.
And I think the social muscle is no different, you know?
It is a social muscle because you, especially, if you, for a period of life, you're calling yourself an introvert, you have like this social battery, I call it.
Yeah.
It's and you fatigue, but if you're going to the gym and working out that social muscle, it does get longer and longer. I noticed.
Oh, absolutely.
Coming from someone that was literally in the house, and I would not fucking talk to anybody. But now, I'll go to a show here and there. Yeah. Or now it's like a show a month. Now it's like I'm at all of them, and like being able to stay up later, and the social battery has grown.
Yeah.
So you're right. It is. It is that social muscle. I didn't even think about that.
It's all resistance training, just a different part of your being. You know, whether it's your body or your brain or whatever. It's like all growth comes through that willingness to go through adversity. And I think people right now are having an interesting moment in the culture where people are awakening to the benefits of voluntary discomfort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it has to be voluntary. That's really important.
It has to be voluntary.
It has to be voluntary. You can't
100%.
You can't be thrown into a situation you don't want to be in and really grow from
100%.
It has to come from within. And the easiest way, rather than focusing on making things hard for yourself for the sake of it, which I think will get you pretty far, is just having a greater why. And for you, it was the band.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that got you out of the house. You didn't really, I'm guessing you didn't realize the transformation that would occur on the other end of that. You know, right. So you just, some greater reason forced you through something you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, and that's, if so long as you have that, something that you're targeting, some North Star that's going to keep carrying you through these really uncomfortable opportunities to challenge yourself.
Totally.
If you don't have that, you're going to run out of, it's just not going to be worth the pain, you know, of like reshaping who you are. You know, you got to have that thing. For I think for us, it's probably our bands, you know.
Totally. Our music. It's like, what do I have to do to keep doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that thing is becoming increasingly rare for people in society. I think having that greater why, you know, a lot of people are working at jobs that they're not connected to, and they're not, they don't see themselves in, and they lack that thing. So I don't know why I'm going down this road really, but we just got on the topic. But
No, this is on topic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Kyle from Vitriol, thank you for making time on your off day to be here.
Oh, it's an honor, really. Thank you for having me.
So any time, it sucks that you guys had problems with. So the school bus finally broke down, right?
Well, fine. I mean, it's been a labor of love and stubbornness, and you know, no one's going to advise you to buy a 20-year-old school bus to tour in. So it's been our mission statement. Not only for our own reasons to make it work, but to prove that it can be done.
Whose idea was it? Whose idea was it?
Your idea. Yeah, Adam and I have been toying with the idea of, probably for 8 damn years, just going back and forth about the pros and cons, talking about diesel, talking about the size, talking about, you know, I've met a few people over the years that are long haul truckers, and his dad drove the school bus for years.
Really?
Like that was his thing.
Oh, that's sick.
So he had some insight there to share. So we and here's the thing: it's not the issues that the bus has had aren't unique to a bus. Like the fuel supply line, the most recent thing on this tour, was loose and ended up breaking. It's just like this little metal S. It's just this little piece.
Yeah.
It broke down on a Friday afternoon. So right before the weekend, the bus parts place tells us that they can get one, but there's only 2 in the entire country that would fit our motor. 2
in the entire country.
In the entire country, like
it's not exactly good luck right there.
It's not great luck.
No.
So they were supposed to overnight the parts.
That's what they always say.
Yeah, you know what? They do, huh?
Yeah.
And so poor Adam was like, all right, man. I mean, we can't do the show without Matt. We can't do the show without our drummer. You know, we can't do the show without the guitars. So I guess I'll take the L on this and I'll stick back with the bus and then meet you guys. And I don't remember what the original plan was. We were going to meet in Anaheim, maybe. I don't remember. But needless to say, that didn't work out. The overnight part did not come overnight. It came on Tuesday, the following day. Dude put it in, came late. Dude put it in. Adam got about an hour down the road, and it failed again.
Oh, what? Oh.
So he calls the dude, and the guy's like, oh, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I'll come out. I'll fucking, you know, for free. I'll make sure to get you up and running. But I can't do that until tomorrow morning.
Oh, no.
So there's another day. Dude fixes it for free. And
as if you're listening, Kyle was saying fixing it with quotation marks.
Yeah, big,
okay, here we go.
Big, sassy, sarcastic air quotes.
Yes.
And then I think it was about 2 hours down the road, something else fails. We're on the side of the road again. We call the dude and we're like, dude, what the fuck? You know, he tries to claim that it's unrelated to the shit, whatever.
Okay.
So at this point, he's like, all right, I can get that part, but it's going to be another 4 days. And we're like, bro, I can't. At this point, we're about to do our 5th show as a 2-piece on this tour, just Matt and I. And we're like, dude, we can't keep doing this. We can't, you know, we can't do this to Adam. We can't do this to the fans. So we're like, just cut. Let's cut our losses rent another vehicle because we've been driving around in a 2-person U-Haul panel truck, like box truck, and a mini SUV, and our buddies in Anti-Faxath, the band that plays right before us, they're rolling with us as well. Yeah. So not only were we like, fuck, our bus is down, but we have 3 dudes that are depending on us for a vehicle and for a place to sleep every night. So we're like, fuck, I guess we have to rent 2 cars and stay in hotels every night. And it was a wild start. Anywho, so we were looking at having to rent an RV, spend another $8,000 to keep going. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to call this buddy of mine who's kind of a fucking maniac. Like, he's just always, like, my favorite story about him is he just like a real modern Renaissance man. He fucking, like, built a motorcycle from scratch. And then within, like, 30 minutes of it being done and tested, he rode it 20 hours south to a hate breed show straight. Went from Portland to like southern or like, somewhere in California, and then went straight to the show and then like attended the show with no rest.
Wow.
Like, you're a psychopath. But he likes that shit. He's got that kind of David Goggins spirit in him that he's just like,
loves that
suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I hit him up. I'm like, dude, how does an adventure sound? You know? And he's a mechanic. So I'm like, how would you feel about flying from LA to Derry, Louisiana, fixing our bus, then driving that bus from Louisiana to California by yourself? And he's like, yeah, dude, let's do it.
That's a homie.
Yeah, so he's like flying out. And this isn't a guy that doesn't have anything better to do. Like, he has a kid at home, the whole 9. He's got responsibilities. And he's just like, yeah, put me on a plane at midnight. I'll fix that shit up. I'll drive it to San Francisco.
How long have you known this person?
Oh, we go way back. He's one of my oldest friends from, yeah, I would say since I was about 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah, about 20 years.
That sounds like a friend / family member.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't have a lot of those, but he's one of the few for sure.
That's awesome, man.
Shout out to Josh Deerdorf. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Josh. And so Chain, that was like the first show with Adam, correct?
Yeah, first show back with Adam.
My goodness, how are you feeling? I have a question after, but I want to hear the answer first. How are you feeling during that show?
Very grateful. Okay. I mean, I haven't played a show without Adam since I was 20 or something. I'm 35, so we've been playing music together for a long time, and so it was. It was a nice, the silver lining of it, it's a nice reminder, of like, as much as you can abstractly appreciate the presence and contribution of your homie and your bandmate, you really can't feel the absence of it until he's good. You don't know what you got till it's gone, kind of thing, right?
Yes.
And it was a nice way to be able to feel that without it being a permanent loss. You know what I mean? So it's like, it made me appreciate it more. It made me, the other silver lining is Matt, our drummer, is really like just my favorite drummer. That's why I worked so hard to get him in the band. Like, I hunted that dude down, and to be able to play next to him as like a duo was like fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I tried to, of course, if I had the option, of course I would have Adam there. But in the Vitriol spirit, trying to joyfully participate in eating the shit sandwich. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the only way you keep going out here. You just got to be like sick. You know what I mean? It kind of has this weird masochistic gaslighting where you're like, fucking bring it on, dude.
Totally.
So it was, trying to make the most of it in that way, feeling a nice little intimate jazz session with Matthew Kilner. It was cool.
So you really made it a point to like, okay, I'm gonna like connect with Matt right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's cool.
Yeah. I pushed him.
People could tell.
I pushed him straight to the front of the stage.
Oh, sick.
And so we were just side by side, and we're fucking, I'm interacting with him in ways that I would typically interact with Adam and stuff. So.
Oh, wow, that's awesome, man.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I was like, man, I'm trying to push the drummer off the stage. You fucking put him up in the front.
He's the show, man. Vitriol, really, I built the band's sound. The whole, I just wanted this band of the craziest drummer ever. Like I should have been a drummer. You know, if I was exposed to extreme metal when I was like I started playing guitar before I found blasting, but I probably would have gotten into drums. And it's my favorite. Like any of my favorite bands, it's not the guitar player, it's not the vocalist, it's not the bass player, it's always the drummer. That's the reason why they're my favorite band.
Wow.
So the drummer is like I actually get flack from some fans that the guitars aren't present enough in our albums. And I'm like, I'm listening to the drums, bro. Like, I want those drums to just like fucking crush you, you know? And like, I don't mind having to dig in a little bit, you know, find those details, find those riffs, you know? I think it's, can add to the immersion of it. Like, I like you having to wade through the assault of the drums to get in there and find the other stuff, you know? So.
Yeah, because, so as like when you were younger, like you really connected with like the black and death metal stuff.
No, not at all. No, I mean, how young are we talking?
Well, I know you found other music prior to that, like most of us do. But still, I assume you're a teenager when you heard like you know, like the Bomber or something.
For sure, yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, I found extreme metal when I was 13. I had moved in with a family member who had the internet. I hadn't had the internet until that point. And I went on I'll never forget. I get on the internet and I'm like, I don't know what you even do on the internet. Like, I don't know what's on here. Believe it or not, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed to admit to your viewers and listeners that was not the first thing that I did.
Dude, no, you can be proud of yourself. That shit is poison for your mind. Dude. You should be proud.
Well, I have since discovered it. So let's just say that. Yeah. But my first thought was, let's look up Metallica lyrics. First, I was just, you know, so I Googled Metallica lyrics, and a website that we probably are all very familiar with, darklyrics.com.
Oh, I remember darklyrics.com.
Yeah. I popped on there and I just saw a library of insane band names, you know what I mean? Just like crazy. And I'm like, my mind is I don't even know this shit existed. And I'm just like a kid in a candy store just by the ideas that I'm confronting. I haven't even heard the music yet, you know what I mean? And I'm like, whoa, dude, this is like a world that I'm interested in. And I wrote down a couple of names that jumped out at me. And one of them, for better or worse, was 6 Feet Under. That name, I was like, dude, that's a hard-ass fucking name. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to fucking check that band out. And I downloaded them. The first band, I don't know if it was the first band I heard, but it among the bands that I downloaded, but it was the first one that made, when I heard Chris Barnes' vocals, it was a song off Maximum Violence, that album, one of their earlier albums. And his vocals on that record, it was just like, I don't know, when I hear Christian people talking about finding Jesus or something, I just felt like this is it. Like, I don't know what this is or what's going on, but I'm like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing now. Like, whatever this is, I'm a part of this. I'm going to do this. Yeah. And I'm just
it was that record, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it was his vocals, really. It wasn't really the sound, because shortly thereafter I discovered Immolation and I discovered Suffocation, and those two bands really like stole the show for the musicality. But Chris Barnes was the first death metal vocalist I heard. Those growling, that inhuman kind of like, and I just fell in love with that. I'm like, man, this is, I don't know, brought something out of that.
It changed your life.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny to think that Chris Barnes' vocals changed my life, but it's true. And I'm actually a big, I think his ability has waned over the years, to be very diplomatic about it. But his early work will stand the test of time, and his lyrics, I think, are really underappreciated.
They are, huh?
Yeah, I think I mean, some of that early stuff still isn't topped in terms of like just the kind of the darkness in it. You know what I mean?
What is it? What is it about those, like the death metal lyrics in that time just kind of had like that special, timeless, like what is that?
My guess, my theory with a lot of these things, and I think it's just the cycle of why the first wave of things tend to be really great. And I think it's because if you're part of that, chances are, if you were one of the people that created that sound, it's much more likely that came from an internal place of like something, a more honest place. I think Chris Barnes, his lyrics, again, for better or worse, probably came from a fairly honest place. I mean, I think I heard in an interview with him that when he wrote a lot of those lyrics, he was living across the street from like an elementary school or something. And it was like super obnoxious and fucking, he was just like really misanthropic at that time of just like the noise and the fucking, whatever. I don't know what I'm paraphrasing this, but I mean, he had a real...
Whenever I need music gear, I always go to sweetwater.com. If it's mics, headphones, or studio and recording gear, Sweetwater has you covered. Next time you need any music gear, support the podcast by using the link in the description and comment section below.
I think for the same reason, a lot of the guys that make really, really heavy, and I don't mean like jun heavy, but like conceptually, emotionally heavy stuff. Unfortunately, sometimes they have short stints in their career because I think if you have access, if you're in the place psychologically where this music really comes from in an honest way, you're probably living a fairly turbulent life internally or externally. You know,
unfortunately,
what I mean?
yes,
yeah. So in my experience, I tend to see a inverse correlation between the quality of someone's metal music and the stability and reliability of their psychological state. You know what I mean? So
that's very true.
I don't really know how we got on that subject, but I think, oh, that's right. We were talking about why those early lyrics are great. And I think it's because simply, and I mean this in a very neutral way, that music was being made by people that were in a dark place, And I think when that kind of music started becoming more appreciated on a larger scale, that gives people room to be attracted to things other than that kind of essence, right? Some people are like, well, I mean, how many times do you hear someone say like, oh, I think the riffs are sick, but like, I'm not in the vocals or whatever.
Sure.
So as time goes on, people start pruning what they like, cherry picking what they like. Mm-hmm. And then that becomes the people that aren't in that really dark place can make music that sort of sounds like it. But now it's less confrontational. It's less scary to listen to. You know what I mean? It's Metallica, not Slayer. And I love Metallica. They're one of my favorite bands ever.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. When you're listening to Metallica, you're having or Iron Maiden, you know what I mean? You're having like a huge cinematic, awesome experience. You listen to Slayer and you're like, oh my God, is this a part of reality that exists? Like, are they talking about something real? Like, is this a rock I want to look under?
I want to see shit and not wipe, dude. Yeah. I'm gonna live the life of Slayer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, any kind of music. Sorry,
Chris, that one got him.
That's good.
Sorry, can I go on? I apologize.
No.
No, it is true, man.
I think any music or any art that holds up a mirror and shows you a part of yourself that you'd rather not believe exists, it's going to be it's not going to be quite as popular as something that just wants to rip and have a good time. You know what I mean? So I just think that as the culture expands and people get more and more into this kind of stuff, there's almost less room for that. There's almost less room for that, the kind of music that comes from this really, what am I trying to say? There also creates, as the metal music gets, I don't know, safer sounds so like cliche, but it makes the stuff that is a little more reckless with what it tries to tackle with even more taboo. So I just think the real stuff just always gets pushed further into a more underground state. It usually takes on a different kind of musical identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happened to death metal. I think like early death metal was very in touch with something. And as death metal became more about the riffs and the blast beats, a lot of those guys went into things like black metal and whatnot, you know, where it was like, this is a place where people that realized that their approach to their work was more maybe philosophical or ideological, something like that, eventually felt, I think, alienated from death metal, and they moved on. So, and then that happened in black metal too. And then those guys, a lot of the guys that went to black metal for that, yeah.
It's funny. That kind of ties into what you said. Like you said, death metal has become a disease. You know, yeah. And
Yeah.
I was going to ask that question, but you just answered it prior to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for better or worse, you know, like I mean, any art is really, can be a mind virus, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's funny how big black metal is now. It's weird.
Yeah.
Can we agree that black metal recordings suck?
Black metal what?
Black metal recordings kind of suck. Can we disagree on that?
Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by suck. I think from like a point of objective fidelity, like it's low quality. But I guess it depends.
But some people, I think you are one of these people. But you hear something in it. You know, something is there though.
Yeah, it's almost like watching think about it like what am I trying to say? So death metal, and I think a lot of music has conditioned us to feel like to relate, to associate the ability to hear everything clearly as being good. The more present everything is, the more room everything has, the better the production. Mm-hmm. I could see like that makes sense to me. I can understand the logic behind that. Mm-hmm. But another way of approaching listening to music is trying to understand what the music is trying to make you feel, and then utilizing the aesthetics of the sound of that mix or recording to make you feel that thing. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of black metal is, especially that lo-fi black metal, and this is a lot of bands.
Lo-fi, let's go.
Yeah. A lot of bands that do this thing, I think don't really understand why they're doing it. And I think those bands end up just like recording into a talk boy in the middle of an oak tree just like on purpose. Yeah. And they don't understand why some of those artists like those lo-fi elements. But the bands that do it right, they understand the intentionality behind the presentation of that music. Mm-hmm. There's a coldness. There's kind of a despair, a staleness of it that speaks much more of the intention of that music than something that's just like punishing and alive. Yeah. Because it's not really supposed to sound alive. I mean, even back in the day, they would call it necro, you know, the necro production, like the guys.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like the second wave stuff.
What years, what was that era?
Early 90s. So, you know, Mayhem, of course, a band that starts with B that we can't talk about anymore, you know. There was a great band called Dotheim's Guard. They're still doing stuff, but they're a very different style of band. You know, some of those, one of those guys recorded an album with oh, God damn it, what are they called? Those shitty old computer mics. Yeah. Like those desk mics with like the bendable fucking thing. That's just like, it looks like a little piece here. Like he would like put that in his mouth and just like, because it would overload and clip and fucking be all blown out. So the idea was just to sound very confrontational, kind of non-music. You know what I mean? It was really like, black metal was much more about the message than the music. It's much closer to punk rock in that way than it is to death metal, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you still go to the gym?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are you you were going to the gym and then you started to experience these stomach issues?
I fortunately just started going to the gym, I think 2 years before I found out I had Crohn's and I got the perforation in my intestine.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that exacerbated it when I was going to the gym. Like I was putting a lot of, I think
I was going to ask you, what causes Crohn's disease?
it's just an autoimmune disease that you get. You're born with it, basically.
You're born with it?
Oh, yeah.
Yo.
You usually, excuse me. Not that you have it from birth, but if you get it, it's you get it at a certain age. Typically, it usually appears, if you're going to get Crohn's, it usually appears by the time you're in your late 20s, and that's when 28 is when mine. Well, I was experiencing symptoms. I didn't know it was Crohn's.
What were you feeling?
Oh, just debilitating, excruciating stomach pain, just like stabbing pain in my abdomen. And I assumed that it was due to like some food allergy that I didn't know what I was eating. I figured I could just kind of figure it out. Didn't have health insurance at the time. So
Of course not.
right. So it wasn't something I was going to see the doctor about. And then one day I woke up and it felt like, I mean, I've never been shot in the stomach, but I've been informed that it's not a dissimilar feeling. But I couldn't even, I was in so much pain, I couldn't raise my voice to shout for my roommate. Adam was staying with me at the time and an old dear friend of mine, Melissa. And I laid there for like 2 hours, just like green, in so much pain, just like waiting for them to wake up and see me there. And they did. And firemen carried me out of there and fucking took me to the hospital. And
You couldn't even walk?
Oh, fuck no, dude. It was fucking, my shit, like the stuff inside of my intestines were leaking out into my abdomen, so it was just like all this shit, it's all these kind of chemical reactions are going on in your fucking stomach. It's wild. Yeah. So I went in there. They're like, you got a hole in you. We got to cut that out and sew you up. So they did that, and then that failed.
So the first surgery failed.
Yeah.
And didn't the surgeon have experience for like 20 plus years and said he never seen anything like this?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
So you had to go back into surgery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it was, yeah. I mean, I don't want to dramatize the thing. It wasn't fun.
I'll do it. It's fine.
Yeah, it was, all in all, it was 3 months in the hospital. The craziest thing, the biggest mind fuck was when you're healing a, oh God, what is it called? You're fucking, I don't know what it's called. But when when they reattach your intestine, you're not allowed, that needs to rest for some time. You can't have an active bowel or intestine when you are when that is healing. So in order for that to shut down, you're not allowed to eat or drink anything until it does. So you get all of your nutrition and hydration through an IV. So for about 2.5 months, I didn't eat or drink anything. No water, nothing. I didn't swallow anything other than my own spit for 2.5 months. And I was fucking insane, man. Like, I shit you. This sounds a little out there, but I really mean it. When I went to go drink water for the first time, I actually had the thought, like, am I going to remember how to swallow this? Like, am I going to fucking, I hope the muscle memory fucking kicks in, because I can't, like,
Wow.
in my mind think about what it feels like to drink something, because it's been so long.
Almost forgot how to fucking swallow, dude. I can't even drink this water right now, dude.
Yeah, it was wild.
Was this the same IV that gave you the infection?
Yeah, oh man, there's lots of, yeah, there was infection. There was a God, what do they call it? I'm forgetting all the technical terms for this, but there's something that happens when they blow past a vein. an IV. And what happens is, rather than that fluid going into your vein and your bloodstream, it starts going into your soft tissue, right? So because it's through the vein, not actually in it. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So what they did is they blew past my vein and didn't catch it for like 2.5 days. And I'm so fucked up on the painkillers that they have me on. I'm barely fucking conscious. And in 2 days, about 2 days after I'm rigged up, I remember feeling like I went to go squeeze my hand. And I'm like, I can't close my hand. Like, what's going on? It feels like I have like oven mitt on or something. And I look down and I get my hand like closer to my eyes and I see that my hand is like twice the fucking size of my other hand. My arm and hand were literally blowing up like a balloon, like a water balloon. I have somewhere like here, do you see this little white part?
Yep.
I have these all over my arm because this skin got so tight, it was literally ripping open.
Shit,
like the skin on top of my arm was like literally bursting at the seams because it was so full of fluid, and somehow nobody caught it.
The nurses didn't fucking see
No. The one nurse that ended up coming in when she found out about it was a nurse that I hadn't interacted with yet, because needless to say, the nurse prior to her was dismissed from my care.
Wow.
I don't know if she was like fired or something, but she was. I never saw her again. But this woman was like, she actually leaned in and said, like, I'm not supposed to say this, but if this happened to me, I would sue. She was like encouraging me to sue the hospital. I have my arm. I'm fine. And actually,
that's what's up.
I think it was one of those like, all right, you survived. We fucking, let's just pretend this never happened.
Clean slate with God right there, man.
Yeah. And I never got a fucking bill from that hospital.
Really?
Never got a bill.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah. In the wild.
That's wild, dude. And it kind of like worked out for you. Maybe they knew.
I think so.
And like, oh, dude, we can't charge this guy.
I think so.
And then he said he's not going to sue. Like, everyone else will fucking sue us.
The story I tell myself is that it's very, in these situations, it's extremely dangerous to admit fault for the hospital, to admit fault in any of this. It's extremely dangerous to allude to any of that or to apologize or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So my theory is their way of taking accountability for that without putting them at severe legal risk,
unbelievable,
was just by not sending me a bill and hoping that I just like took the little wink and just went on with my life. And that's what I did.
Wow.
So.
Oh, that is fucking wild, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that was supposed to be like $250,000 or something.
Oh.
That was like life ending debt, So I wouldn't be here with you if they had sent me that bill. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'd be working in I'd be fitting pipe with my stepdad somewhere in downtown Portland right now,
Yeah, but you could sue for more though. And they probably knew that. I mean,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And also we live in Kyle, we live in like in a world where people do kind of look for these not handouts, but they kind of they look for a way out.
Yeah.
And I mean, just not even sometimes like just the lawyers alone, because that's a whole business in itself.
Yeah.
So if a lawyer got hold of that or got a hold of you,
oh yeah, they're gonna do everything in their power to convince me that I'm a victim.
Exactly.
That I need to.
That's a whole business, dude.
Yeah.
And Kyle, that takes a lot of integrity and character for you to realize what the situation was. It's rare, man.
Well,
cool.
I appreciate it, but I mean, rather than, I think this is actually a great way to circle back to my point about having a greater why. You know what I mean? Like rather than like my earlier example of, rather than having to focus on having making shit hard for yourself to grow, find something that's important and just let that pull you into uncomfortable situations. Yeah. And I think for me in this situation, maybe if I was the same person that I am now, but I had a job that I was stuck in, I didn't have the resources to do what I'm doing, whatever, maybe I would have sued if I didn't have anything better to do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe I would have done that, convinced myself that was the thing that made me do the bigger thing, quote unquote, was my band. I just had a bigger why. I had something to go do. I wasn't going to go miss a fucking tour because I had a court date to talk about how a nurse blew through my, you know what I mean? Like, I got shit to do, man. You know, like I'm not trying to sit around and schedule my band's success around a lawsuit that'll take fucking 9 years or something. Like, fuck that. Fuck that, dude. Life is short. It's long sometimes, but it's too short for that. I'll say that. Yeah.
So, essentially, you almost lost your right hand.
Oh, yeah. It was very, 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 I mean, the nurse that told me I should sue, I'll never forget. She said, there's about a 50-50 chance based on the fluids that we give people in these IVs, depending on what you needed, there's like a 50-50 chance that you would have lost your arm. You were on the right side of 50, that what the medicine you were getting was not necrotizing or whatever it is. Maybe that's not the. So she's like, you were very lucky that we didn't literally kill your arm and have to fucking cut it off for an abdominal problem. You know?
Dude, I talk about bad luck, worse luck, great luck. What is that,
but that's
dude?
funny. It's funny to say that. We have a thing. I have if you talk to Adam, I have the worst best luck. It's like it's funny. We have never been able to understand how things that happen to the band and sometimes me tend to be unusually unfortunate, but then I somehow have this great fortune on the back end that gets me out of it alive. You know what I mean? So it's like this weird, I don't know. The universe is giving me very confusing messages. You know what I mean? But I kind of see it as, you know, with the path that I'm on and the music that I make and my personal disposition toward life, I think that maybe I've just been too successful at being the touring musician that gaslights himself into enjoying the suck. But I kind of see it. I'm almost grateful for it at this point in my life because I know it kind of sounds like cliche and kind of like daddy, but dad-ish, not D-Y, pervert. But it's all an opportunity to grow, man. And for me, to take this band as far as I possibly can is always the goal. And the best way to get there is to go to every gym that's available, you know, for the mind, for the body, for whatever. And I think having the universe, you know, like with this bus shit, right? Would have been great for that fuel line not to bust and us to not go fucking $6,000 in debt in the first week. Like that would have been great. But what happened in the wake of that? We proved to ourselves that the shit can hit the fan that hard and we don't have to fall. We won't fall apart. We won't catastrophize. In fact, we'll jump into proactive problem solving, not miss a single show. We proved a lot to ourselves through that. And when things run smoothly, I mean, like you asked me about the Chain show. You were like, how was that having Adam back? Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have felt that sweet if it weren't for all that fucking madness. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So in a way, it all just kind of balances itself out. You know what I mean? In a weird way.
It does.
And having that, and the truth of the matter is, being kind of a man of extremes, I know that'll surprise everybody.
I'm very surprised.
I actually prefer the kind of violent vacillation between like complete fucking like white knuckle fucking are we gonna make it through this and like total indulgent decadence. You know what I mean? Like,
it's hard. It's hard for us as creatives and artists to have any kind of balanced middle ground. You want this or you want the other side.
Oh yeah.
It's like you don't really want anything in between. It's kind of boring.
It's so fucking. I mean, that's why I can't. That's why I can't do like mid-pace. Like the music I listen to is either like the most extreme shit I can possibly find, or like the most syrupy, upbeat, like poppy shit. You know what I mean? Like I just like those radical extremes, like indie rock and stuff, and like kind of stoner doom and shit. Like I can't get into it because it's just too, you know, down the middle. You know what I mean?
It's down the middle. What are some poppy stuff that you're jamming?
Oh man,
Backstreet Boys.
I love me some. I'm Team Backstreet over NSYNC for sure.
Okay,
they have the more talent. Of course, Justin is the standout. Of course.
Yes.
Don't come at me with that shit. We all know Justin's the guy.
He is.
But as far as the songs and the overall the net amount of talent, I would say Backstreet Boys was the.
I never thought about him that way. You're right. Net talent.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think their songs were better, and I think guy to guy they had stronger voices.
It's true, huh?
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah, they were like a fucking band. Dude.
And I don't think they were quite as like heartthrobby to the girls as NSYNC was, right? I think Backstreet was a little like, I think so, if I remember that.
Yeah, because they didn't have like a Justin where he's obviously like, we all want him. Even I wanted him at some point, not without knowing.
Yeah, I can't eat top ramen without getting hard. You know what I mean?
True.
Because it's that hair, dude. The top ramen hair. I see that hair and I'm just like, gets me going, brother.
Well, with the Backstreet Boys is more like a collective look.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there wasn't.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Dude, knowing the history between you and Adam, because he's been with you for such a long time. He's been with you for like so many lows in your life. So it's kind of cool to like see that, like knowing his shitty drive he made, and then to see you make it apparent that, okay, I'm gonna walk over here and really connect with him, and he looks at you, and then it's had that thing, knowing that in my house, like that's a fucking band, dude.
Oh,
it's
man.
cool.
That's awesome. I appreciate. Yeah, I mean that's
cool, man.
Yeah, that's something that we the first tour we ever did, a guy that was on that tour with us came up to us on the last day, and he was like, man, I gotta say I'm really envious of what you guys are doing. And this was a guy in a band that was playing over us. And I was like, well, I don't know what you mean, dude. You're like out here doing the same thing. He's like, yeah, but this isn't my band. He's like, these are you and your boys that made this happen from the beginning. You know what I mean? Like you made the dream happen together. It's not just like a group of dudes that met on the internet that, you know, knew how to play the shit. And we took for granted how special that was, you know. Less so now, of course, but I think we also took for granted that that's just kind of how most bands were. You know, we came from our backgrounds, our relationship with bands. We always assumed that was like, I think we watched probably too many episodes of Behind the Music by VH1. You know what I mean? Like we had this like crazy romantic idea of what being in a band was like. It'd be like a bunch of brothers like living together and like making the dream happen and being broke and like doing the thing.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we tried to foster that kind of a environment. But with intimacy comes turbulence. So like, you know, I think Adams quit the band 3 times.
He did?
Oh yeah, 3 times over the course of the band.
What happened at third time?
That was fairly recent, actually. Well, it was more of a scare. I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm working on it. You know, therapy is sick. But yeah, when I get tunnel vision, especially with a creative project, I get kind of bridezilla. Like it's easy for me, unfortunately, to feel as though what is best for the project is the only thing that matters. And I'm so busy subordinating not just other people, myself included. Not that that's I just really, how do I put it? I can be very unkind and unaware and lack a lot of empathy when my creative dog has the bone in his mouth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when this is actually was the catalyst for Stephen Ellis, one of our guitar players that we had for several tours, that actually helped with the new album. This is what caused him to leave the band. We had like 12 hours to submit the final mix notes for the new album. And I was fucking like on very little sleep, fucking, all the haven't eaten, all those little dark things are piling up. All the fucking dark stars are aligning,
Yeah.
And we're at lunch. I like to say that none of this would have happened if I just eaten that sandwich first before.
Hey, dude, there's something to that.
I mean, honestly,
there's something to that.
I'm not getting off, let myself off the hook. It's just it's a matter of the fact. It's a fact of the matter. Excuse me.
There's something to that, man.
God, eat. God, if there's any advice I can give, I don't know if this is my camera. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Eat before you try to problem solve. Eat before diplomacy.
100%.
Do not fucking try to problem solve or conflict. Do any kind of conflict resolution with low blood sugar. It's a fucking. It's driving at 200 miles an hour without a fucking seatbelt on. You know what I mean? So anyway, we were talking about shit that didn't even have to do with the band. It was something stupid, and I just snapped at Steven, and it was public, and I yelled, and it was not something you do to someone you call your friend. You know what I mean? And that was kind of it. He decided to leave the band then, and I think I might be. Sorry, Adam and Steven, if I'm oversharing, but it's just kind of my, I have to, I don't want to speak for Adam, but I have to assume, because that's when Adam was going to leave as well, even though I didn't direct that toward him. But I have directed that energy toward him in the past. And I think Adam is he's so much more aware of other people's. I think he's a much more empathetic person, like naturally, than I am. I think I can like in my head, I can think about, I care about this person's well-being. Like I have all of these values in my head. But there's something about Adam and people like him that they don't have to think about it. It just it's just like feel it. Yeah. And I think I have to guess it was very difficult for him to see me do that to someone else. And it was probably much easier for him to take it himself than it is to watch someone he cares about get that from me, So I think that was like, it's like, dude, I just can't. At some point you have to choose between your dignity and your life's work. And I think that was a big wake up call for me. I was like, I made a dude that I've called my brother for years, like throw his life's work away because he couldn't figure out a way to pursue that and maintain his dignity. And I'm the reason for that. That's not a good feeling. You know what I mean? So, I tried to humble myself a lot, and it's all a work in progress. One step at a time. I'm still an asshole. You know what I mean? I still get angry. I still have a short fuse.
Do you, when it happens, when you have like these blow ups, which I know what you mean. I've done the same thing. Do you find like when it happens again, it's a little bit less because you feel the emotion? Oh, this is the same thing. I'm being a little bit better at controlling this, and then the next might be a little hiccup. Yeah, I don't want to say hiccup. It's a little bit a lot more than a hiccup. But then the next time it goes, it's a little bit lower. Yeah, yeah. We measure in therapy. Within therapy world, you measure that in time between kind of that intoxicated, emotional, passionate, little reservoir that all that stuff comes out of, and that sobering coming down period where the guilt starts setting in, and you're like, ugh, you know what I mean? That part. And the whole idea is being able to make that shorter and shorter and shorter, and then also get comfortable enough with the guilt that you can overcome that guilt and own your shit and take accountability and apologize. And that apologize. You got it. I mean, so yes, in a way, if you are moving in the right direction, if you're choosing to move in the right direction, I agree that gets shorter and shorter. As someone who did not choose to move in that direction for many, many years, it works in the opposite direction as well. That if you are doubling down on that, it gets worse. And it gets easier
to hold that position, and it gets easier to live with that guilt and shame because you start interpreting it as a different thing.
Yeah.
And you just lose touch with that thing. You go blind. Oh yeah. I mean, people really don't understand how far away we can be from one another. You know, like in here. You know, like
100%, dude.
It's crazy.
You'll like really drive yourself crazy.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you talk about guilt. When you try to fix it, what that exposes, you are now more vulnerable to guilt, and guilt to me are demons, and demons come up when there's a little failures will awaken that guilt demon.
Yeah,
and then you can feel it coming up. Like, here's that demon and wants to fucking start screaming.
Yeah,
you know. So just knowing, just working.
But that's another reason why it's so important to befriend your demons, because they're telling you something that you need to hear.
Your demons are telling you something.
You know, they're telling you something, even though it's uncomfortable. They're not your enemy. They're telling you that torment is pushing you in the direction of yourself, like your wellness, right? Mm-hmm. Like they would only be truly destructive, demonic presence if they were pushing you in the direction of your destruction, your annihilation. And they don't do that. You know, they say you are better than this. We're not going to love you where you're at right now. That's what the angels do. We're not going to love you for who you are right now. We're going to love you for who we know you can be. Mm-hmm. And we're going to love you up there. And that means we're going to give you shit right here. You know what I mean? Until you're up there. Yeah. And I think that's what, if you learn to listen to the demons or your anxiety is another very powerful demon.
100%.
That is telling you that kind of restless, like, I should be doing something. I don't know what I fucking... And then people want to take meds, or they want to fucking smoke weed about it. They want to do whatever. I'm not against medication. I'm on medication. But it's not... People pathologize these dark things, like anxiety's bad. And that's not bad. It's telling you just have to engage in a dialogue with it. Like, what is it telling you? You probably should be going to do something that you're not doing, you know? But unfortunately, we're all just kind of trained in a society that says, sit in front of the TV, work 40 hours a week, do that, you should be fine. And if you're not satisfied with that, take pills about it. Buy more stuff about it. Yeah. Whatever. You know?
Yeah. Do you find that most people don't? They treat like the devil and demons as things that you should ignore as opposed to be friends with.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know? That's a big reason why I do what I do. You know, the music that I make is, I think we're so dangerously unwhole as the psychology of our society is so arrogantly separated ourselves from like this half of what we are, this like shadow side of what we are. Yeah. And we push it onto each other, or we push it onto band member, or you push it onto Satan, or you push it onto whatever, you know. It's like, these ideas are just metaphors for the stuff that's in you. You know what I mean? Satan isn't out there. He's in there. You know, God's not out there. God's in there. You know 100%. What I mean? I
feel the same way.
So and because that's all within you, it's like organs in your body. You might not know what that thing does, but it knows what it does. And it's there for a reason. You know what I mean? And I think our emotions, our psychology, there's a reason for all of that. There's nothing, you know, whether you believe in God or you believe in the kind of the supra intellect of nature, however you want to interpret it, whatever it is, whatever is impressive enough that we're not 50% diseased. You know what I mean? Like, we're whole, perfect, exactly what we're supposed to be. And that's the viciousness and the tenderness and all of that. And if you don't let those things touch and communicate with one another, that darkness is it's gonna get up through the cracks. It's gonna make you do shit that you don't know what you're doing. You're fucking wondering why you keep fucking this person that doesn't treat you well. You wonder why you can't stop, why you can't spend 30 minutes by yourself in the silence and the voice inside your own head. You know, all these different things that people just hide from because we don't have a place in our society to talk about it, because it's not of us. You would have to admit the dark little truth that all that stuff you hate out there is the calls coming from inside the house, baby mama.
True. It's true, man.
Yeah.
So you've been going to therapy since 2020, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your big takeaway from that? Like, what is like? It seems like it kind of helps you navigate a lot.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. Thank you for asking that, because this is something that is really important to me, especially with men. You know, a lot of my fans are disproportionately men, and men that have a particular, I like to say that we preach what we need. We preach what we need. So, for instance, Vitriol preaches resilience, self-reliance, durability, a willingness to do things that might feel physically and morally uncomfortable. And I preach that because that's what I needed. I grew up in an environment where I was a very sensitive boy. I'm still a very sensitive man. And I grew up in an environment where there was a lot of profound emotional pain that I could not escape from. You know, when you're a kid, you can't really decide where you are, you know? So when you're in a situation where you can't leave, my way of surviving that environment was to give myself permission to hate people that I very desperately wanted to love. You know, there are people in your life that when you're young, you just have this natural, you know, instinctive love for. And if those people aren't loving you, like, you have a choice to kind of have your light swallowed up by those people, because you can't stop expecting something from them that's not coming, or you try to protect that by hardening yourself to the circumstances, you know, and it's not ideal. You know, life is full of lesser evils, you know what I mean? But learning to let those demons protect me in a way, letting a kind of indignation, almost like a self-righteousness in the face of people that were like failing me, that saved my life. You know, it kept me strong enough to walk away from people that the angels in me never would have allowed me to walk away from, you know? And in that way, like, my devils earned my loyalty through that, you know what I mean? And it's not that I don't, value the other stuff. It's just, it's not hard to value that. We live in a world that puts too much emphasis on valuing all of that stuff. It's, I think we, as a corrective measure, getting more into that befriending the wolf, you know what I mean, in you. And to use wolf as an example, I think a dog is a great poster child for what nature is supposed to be. I mean, a dog is, when the time is right, is perfectly tender and innocent and playful and loving. And in the right instance, is extremely vicious, very defensive, has its boundaries, will let you know if it does, you know what I mean? And that's perfect. That's a perfect creature living in its wholeness, in its balance. And we have just muzzled ourselves and just pulled all the claws out of our paws and ripped the fucking canines out of our mouth. You know what I mean? It's like, I understand that makes building a company and filling cubicles with people easier, because there'd be more conflict if people had, I don't know, a fucking spine. You know what I mean? Like, it would be hard to run things if people had strong values. I understand that. But, that's why maybe we shouldn't be running things this way. Anyway.
Thank you for sharing that, man. It's cool, dude.
Thanks for the opportunity. Oh, sorry. I wanted to say something about the therapy. I think it somehow got off track, but a point that I want to make about the therapy is that even guys that I have close relationships with, they're really thoughtful, like in touch with their feelings kind of guys. That are I guess against therapy, and I think it stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of what therapy is supposed to be. You know, I've heard the same account from a few people where they're like, "Man, I saw a therapist for a little bit, and they didn't tell me shit. Like they didn't tell me what I should be doing or what I shouldn't be doing. Da 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 da. They just were like." Asked me fucking questions. And I'm like, well, you're looking for a life coach. You're not looking for a therapist. A therapist, and it's funny that the same guys that are usually talking shit about therapy because it's like, oh, I don't fucking need someone to tell me.
Ones that need to go.
Yeah. And their whole thing is, I don't need people to tell me what to do. And then they go and they're mad that someone's not telling them what to do. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, dude. Yeah. So therapy, a good therapist is going to be like a really great partner in Marco Polo. You know, that game in the pool, Marco Polo. Oh. They should very gently kind of shepherd you in the right direction. But the problem is nobody knows what's right for you other than you. Mm-hmm. And a good therapist knows that. I would say if the thing that I would get from a therapist that would make me run as fast as I can in the opposite direction is if they tried to give me like actionable advice on like how to solve a complex problem. Like, oh, you should tell this person that, and you should do. No. You don't know that person. You don't me. You don't know the dynamic. So a good, wise therapist is going to basically be maybe a referee in a internal dialogue, right? They're basically helping you have a very effective conversation with yourself. And they help you get around walls that are uncomfortable, right? That you wouldn't allow yourself to go because you've built all of these things in your ego, all these protective walls that prevent you from getting through. They have the ability sometimes, if they're good, and compatible. It's not just a matter of quality, to help you get closer and closer. That voice, that Polo from behind that wall is going to help you find your way out of the corn maze, so to speak. But they don't know where you are. They don't know where you are. They don't know where you're stuck. They have an idea, but they're just going to give you the right environment to come to that conclusion yourself. And if you approach therapy from that standpoint and you do it with intention, it's not just an issue with therapy. Just people are too fix it. You know what I mean? People just come to professionals and say, this hurts, fix it. Fix this for me. No one's saving your ass, dude. No one's fixing you. Trust me, I spent 3 months in a hospital. Even medical doctors ain't fucking saving you every time. You know what I mean? It's if you're unhappy with therapy, it's probably because you don't know what therapy should be. Or you have a shitty therapist. Shitty therapists exist. Shitty girlfriends exist. Shitty boyfriends exist. Shitty mechanics exist. Shitty presidents exist. Shitty fucking airline pilots.
Shitty guitar players. I'm right here, baby. Come on.
You know, we all. So it is what you can't glorify qualifications too much. You know, we're all fallible, but again, just like a great partner in life is very powerful and real. A good therapist is powerful and real. If I went through, this is my third one I'm on.
Third. Yeah. So I've overheard, I've seen 2 therapists. I've overheard like you need to kind of keep, sometimes you don't have the first one, you kind of keep looking. And it's not exactly uncommon to skip the first, the second, even the third, and keep this.
Yeah, not at all. It's the same thing with dating, man. You wouldn't expect to just see
first one girl. Oh, here we go, I'm getting married.
Yeah, exactly. That's insane. Like when you think of it that way, that sounds insane. Totally. But people just have this bizarre programmed idea of a therapist being like a doctor that they can like put an X-ray on you and be like, oh, that's no, that's not what it is, you know?
Yeah.
But it's good news that it is, because you know what that says about the human mind is no one's in charge of you. No one can get in there and tell you what to do and fucking make you do shit. That's a beautiful thing. We can't be controlled, you know?
They can help you.
We can let ourselves be controlled, but we have to give someone that power. You know what I mean? And a good therapist will have that respect for the individual experience, that they're not going to want to insert themselves into it. A good therapist should be invisible. A good therapist should almost just be like a really great voice in your head that will ask the right questions, you know, and not really provide answers, because the answers come from you. They ask the right question. And that's half of the battle. You know, it's just finding the right question. And if you can chew on that enough, if that question makes you feel shitty, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
You know, like if the shittier the question makes you feel, that shame and guilt you're talking about, go there. Go into that place. Find the shittiest, most uncomfortable thing. And the more you can, it releases you.
Go there and write. Go to that place you don't want to go and write a record.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you were in the hospital, but even when you got there, like the EP was already written and the first record was already written too, right?
Most of it.
Okay.
Yes, I wrote 3 songs, I believe. Yes. Yeah, I wrote 3 songs after the hospital.
So it was already kind of done. So you really couldn't put in your experience and what happened to you until the record that just came out.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and you know, the more I make music, the more I create, the more I appreciate that I'm not really in charge of what I put into the music. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I could come home from the hospital and be like, I'm going to write a song about that. But it's I don't want to get too like wooey.
Let's get wooey.
I think music, good art in general is like, you know, I was talking about the demons earlier that love you where you can be, not where you're at. I think this is why art is kind of almost like borderline blasphemous throughout religious history. Of course not if it's devotional art, but because there's something hedonistic about it. You know, there's something almost self-aggrandizing about it, because if you're doing it well, it's almost like your future self pulling you. It's like when I make music, I feel like I understand it more after a bit of time. It's almost like it was something from the future that was almost like looking into a crystal ball or something, and it gives you sun. You're like, oh, I'm going to move toward that. And then you fucking pop another crystal ball way down the road. And I'm going to move toward that, you know? And it's like, and because it's kind of subconscious and from the, like, I try not to get too heady. That sounds weird because our music sounds really like, you know, complex, but I have a dual layered approach when writing our music, because I want to make sure everything's coming from a really like almost meditative and subconscious place. So it's really like, I don't know, real. I want the limbic system of my brain to make my music. I don't want like the frontal cortex to be making it, or the frontal lobe to be making it. So when I write foundations to songs, it's just very like, I'm not in my head. I'm just kind of like trying to feel the things that I feel and just get them down there. And then when the vibe is like saying the right thing, that's when I go in and put all the like me stuff in there. You know, I get all frontal lobe on it and fucking do all the fucking, okay, I'm going to make this note. Do that.
Yeah.
So it's like this layer of something like really primal, like something very like not understood with a bunch of like understood stuff on top of it. Kind of.
That's sick, dude.
Thank you. And so in that way, I don't really, I don't have control over what I feel. You know what I mean? to an extent. You know what I mean? We can choose what to do in response to those feelings, but I don't think we can really choose in the moment. Oh, am I going to be happy about this? Try to be happy about something you're not happy about. Good luck. So in that way, I can't really decide what I put into the records because I always want the records to be coming from an honest place. If they're coming from an honest place, they have to be what I'm feeling in the moment, and I can't control what I'm feeling. So
yeah.
All roads lead to a complete lack of control.
No, totally, man. Speaking of out of control, your pedal board is out of control.
Yes.
Was it your demons or your therapist that helped you make this board?
I think they would all discourage again. I don't think anyone would have encouraged me to do it. Anyone that cares about me would not have encouraged this. But
this thing, so for those of you probably listening on Spotify or Apple, this thing is bigger than me.
It's 43 inches by 16 and a half. It has 33 total pedals on it.
33.
It has 3 power supplies.
Okay.
It has, it has 2 reorderable loopers. So this guy here, is this cool? Should I just run it down a little bit? Is that cool?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
So this is this Boss ES8. It's a loop switcher and a MIDI controller. So in this device, there's 8 separate loops, 6 mono loops and 2 stereo loops. The first 6 mono loops are completely reorderable by patch. So if you want to, let's say, for instance, put a chorus in front of your delay, you can have that on one patch. And if you want to hit another patch and the delay's in front of your chorus, you can do that. So it'll reorder the pedals within the thing. I also have, so this has 8 pedals housed in it. This ends up talking to this, which is the Morningstar ML10X. It is a fully reorderable stereo loop switcher. So I have 5 stereo pedals in there. Again, order them however you want. I have my preamps, like my main amp tone in there. And what's really cool is I have my flanger, I have my chorus, my stereo flanger, my stereo chorus, my EQ, stereo EQ. We got, what else we got in there? The effects loop on my Eventide H90. So what I can do with this is put my preamp, right? So if you're running effects into the preamp, it's kind of like running straight into a head, right? And if you run them after your preamp, it's the same as running them in the effects loop of the head. So just by programming this, I can decide to run any of my effects in front of the amp or in the effects loop.
That's fucking sick, dude.
Yeah. So I can switch it. If I want that really abrasive, chorus straight in or a flanger straight in, like an Eddie Van Halen kind of thing, I can do that. And then for the next patch, if I want to go to a clean and have a chorus after, so it's really saturated and I can do that. So it just gives me a world of flexibility.
You wanted everything.
I wanted everything. Well, a big mission statement was in a world of, well, that's always
great. That's a great statement, man.
But no, it's definitely for me. It's rather than it being a protest against the all-in-ones. I think the Neural Quad Cortex is a great product. I think the Axifex is a great product. I think the Kemper is a great product. I like pedals a lot. I have reasons for liking pedals. And what I want to do, just kind of as a passion project, was build a pedal board that can do everything one of those all-in-one boxes can do and more. So, I'm almost there. I don't have a looper on here and I don't have an IR loader on here yet, but that will come. And then once I'm there, this board can do anything and everything another board can do.
So what's your main, even you explaining your main rhythm tone? What is that?
So that the two,
just your fucking, is it just the main tone I'm playing?
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything else.
The core tone, again, I'm not sure if I mentioned this yet, but it's a full stereo pedal board. And I even made my amp setup stereo. So for the listeners, or viewers that aren't familiar with my band or are familiar with my band and haven't seen us on this tour, we have for several years been a 4-piece with another guitar player, and we have recently gone back to the beginning stages of Vitriol. We've always been a 3-piece creatively in the studio, all that. And after the last guitar player we worked with, he was great. It just wasn't a great fit. It was amicable. We both felt similarly. After that, Matt and Adam and myself got together and kind of had a powwow, and we're like, they brought it up, doing a 3-piece, and I'm like, man, you know what? I haven't really thought about that in a while. I was committed to the idea for another guitar player because I knew the interplay between the two guitars was so important to our music, and I didn't have either the funds or the technological know-how to make that work. Somehow create that dimension of a second guitar player. So I was like, man, I'm much more proficient with that stuff now. I wonder what I could do. And so I started thinking about a big, giant stereo pedal board and what I could do to make the most out of that stereo field. And hopefully with the end result of actually sounding larger than we did as a 4-piece. That was my ambitious goal. I want to sound even more full as one guitar player than we did with 2. So the first step for me was effectively running 2 amps, 2 separate amps, one on stage left, one on stage right.
Yes.
So the heart core of my tone, on stage right, we have the Natos Distortion by Fortin. They're my favorite amp company. I'm fortunate enough to work with them. That thing, you get that in this Seymour Duncan Power Stage or anything like that, you're good to go, man. That thing fucking rips. For the other side, just to, some people might wonder, why not just run 2 Natos or one, and run it mono into your stereo chain? Again, I just wanted the variety. I wanted that, I want to sound like 2 guitar players with their own rigs. You know what I mean? Because most of the time when you're playing in a band, your 2 guitar players aren't running the same exact gear. They're not running the same exact pedals, not running the same exact amps.
Sure.
So I wanted to create that sense. So on stage left, we have this Friedman pedal, which is fucking awesome. It's called the IRX. I just like high gain, modern, British, like Marshall-y kind of sounds.
Yeah.
And Fortin and Friedman are both very good at that. The Friedman isn't quite as modern and high gain, but it gets plenty there, especially with a boost. This thing's cool. It has 2 12AX7 preamp tubes in it. So
there's tubes in that pedal.
There's tubes in the pedal, yeah. It has 2 channels, individual boost settings for each channel. It has IRs built into it. You can. I'm bypassing them for running just straight into a power amp, but there's even a headphone out on that thing, so you can use it as like a practice amp.
Oh, cool!
It's wild. It's such a cool pedal.
That's dope.
And it sounds sick. So that's like, those are you can think of those as my 2 heads, right? And then in front of those, this is the boost that I swear by. This is called the Burning Spirit by a company called Lone Wolf Audio. They're called Void Manufacturing now, but this is a really interesting pedal, and I have a difficult time describing it to people because Joe at Lone Wolf is always innovating, and he observed something that metal guys have been doing forever, which is putting like a tube screamer in front of your high gain amp, right? You crank that level, you bring the gain down, keep the kind of what I'm doing here with the screamer, max level, drive down, tone kind of at noon. Yeah. This gives you that little bit of like oomph, that compression that kind of fills in the gaps, makes it more saturated, gives you a little low end cut, all that. But the reality is that's not what these things were intended to do. That's not what an overdrive pedal was designed to do.
Oh, yeah.
So why have people been using a pedal outside of its application for 30 fucking years when no one has tried to build something specifically to do that job?
Oh, wow.
So Joe designed this pedal, and I think, I've had people actually reach out to me that have tried it and be like, oh, what am I supposed to do with it? Because it's a unique thing. It doesn't have drive in it like a overdrive would, but most metal players don't want that. They're turning the gain all the way down. All they're trying to do is give it that kind of harmonic excitement. You know, when you turn on a tube screamer and your squeals are way squealier, you know what I mean? Like that's what you want. You want those gaps filled in, but you don't want to lose the dynamic. You don't want all of that low end cut off. A little bit's nice for a metal guy, a little bit of low end cut, but not fucking like put an Ibanez tube screamer in front of a Mesa, excuse me. They were kind of Mesa because Mesas have huge ass ends on them. Mm-hmm. So the cut is actually kind of tasteful on those. But if you put them in, you put a tube screamer in front of like a JCM 800.
That is true. Yeah, it's not.
It turns into a box of bees. You know what I mean? You don't want that. Yeah. So the Burning Spirit, what it does is that provides that harmonic excitement. You get those squeals, but it doesn't add noise. It doesn't cut your low end off at all. And it has this grip knob, which if anybody's ever used the BEOD by Friedman, it has a tightness knob on it. That's its secret weapon. And it just fucking, for metal guys, those chunks, you know, like it just makes those so tight. And that's what these do. You'll notice my grip is pretty high on both of these. And when we get to fucking showing some tones, I can demonstrate them on and off. But they're subtle, but they're supposed to be subtle. Okay. You know what I mean? Like you should be getting most of the tone you're happy with from your amps, right? And that's true. I just kind of think of these as like, I don't know, like it just kind of pre-masters your guitar signal or something. It just gives it more fidelity and more responsive, you know? Nice. So that's, actually, and the main...
It's fucking...
This here, I know, the Mimic...
The doubler, dude.
The doubler, it plays a huge role in my live tone. That's the difference between making it sound like one guitar player playing through two amps and sounding like two guitar players.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's a very underappreciated pedal. I think it's because its application is fairly niche. Like if you're not if you're not the only guitar player in your band, it's kind of useless. You know what I mean? Like the only, it's not going to be cool with another guitar player. It does something when you're running it mono. Mm-hmm. Like if you run it mono in your rig, like maybe in the, like right in front of the amp for like a solo or something, it'll add a little bit of like dimension, but this thing really shines when you run a mono signal into it and you split it stereo out to two other things, because then it sends the main unaffected signal to one side and then the affected signal to the other side. Wow! So it really gives you these
what does
two
it sound
independent.
Like what's like a? It's like what do you hear when it's?
It's hard to describe. You know, when you're like, I would compare it to like, oh God, it's the difference between. I keep trying to find words that aren't stereo, because there's like, of course, if you have a stereo signal, it's stereo, but it still feels and sounds almost like a dual mono. You know what I mean? When you have one guitar player going, it's still just kind of, even if the textures are slightly different, it just feels like the same image coming through. Okay. And when you turn that on, it completely carves out the stereo dynamic. Like it feels like it's in the center and just explodes out on either side. But it doesn't add any kind of like, it doesn't add any color or tone. It's not like a delay. It's not, very subtle. Am I plugged in? Yeah. I can show you. Where's my phone?
Is it time to hear this thing, dude?
We can, yeah. Probably,
You just, there it is.
Oh, sweet.
It goes under your asshole.
Yeah, always. That's where I keep
That's
it,
a good place
that's
for
where I keep
for a pitch, too.
Okay, so this is without the Mimic on. Right? This is with the Mimic on.
Wow.
Off.
Whoa.
On.
That's sick.
Isn't that wild?
I'm gonna kick out Mark.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, Mark.
Sorry, Mark.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's insane. Like,
Wow.
it makes such a shocking difference. And
It sounds like the two guitar players.
right? Yeah. It's crazy, and it doesn't sound artificial at all.
Whoa, dude. Genius.
How wild.
It's really cool because, yeah, we're obviously we're both wearing headphones, so it's going in stereo in our headphones.
Yeah.
So we could really hear it.
Yeah.
That is dope.
And think about that translated through two full stacks, like 30 feet away from each other on stage. So it makes a really big difference in a live setting, for sure.
All right, dude. So, what are you doing here? Because I want to. This riff, dude.
Oh, I hope I know. Oh, cool.
This sounds like you were really high. And like.
I was very high when I was writing this album.
Were you really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because the next part that comes in, you're like, what is he doing, dude? Yeah, what? Yeah, so when it kicks in, what are you doing there?
So I am have the volume kind of low on my guitar.
Because you're doing like the way like it looks like you're tapping and you have like the whammy bar going.
Yeah. So it's these notes.
Okay.
Let's get a sick little yeah. Go a little loud. I have my fucking
That's sick.
boost on there. So it's basically I'm just doing this while working the whammy bar. So for the intro, I just did that, slightly rolled off in the volume, so it kind of has that frail, kind of, not fully gassed sound. And then I'm using what did I use to get that kind of I think Dave maybe found the filter for that, but Dave Otero, who did our record, I was like, I wanted to sound like an old broken jewelry box. That was the idea, like a little ballerina twirling around with fucking,
That's a good analogy.
That was kind of the vibe. So.
What's the open part?
Which open part?
What's like Adam ringing out on?
Oh shit, dude, I don't know.
It's like so it sounds like D flat.
It's whatever you want, man. Whatever sounds good.
That part is really cool, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. It was nerve-wracking because I'm like, man.
Were you just
hitting those notes while fucking rocking this?
Because I thought you were initially tapping because you were like way up on like the neck, but it makes sense because you're on the whammy bar.
Yeah. I do a little like pull off, hammer on pull off, but nothing tappy until I get to the really noodly section at the end.
Wow. That is nuts, dude.
Thank you.
Okay, I got 2 more riffs, dude.
Yes.
This. About 3 minutes in, dude. This part is. I'm like, what is he playing here? This is where it starts. I'm like, what is he doing there, dude?
It's funny you picked one of the only songs we haven't learned to play live from the new record.
Because that whole section is about like a minute long, where it just sounds like it's not a whammy. It's not like a. Like you do like the higher stuff, like this fucking chaotic
So a reoccurring theme on this record. I used a lot of like drone notes. So like. So I'm letting that B stay open.
Okay.
While I'm like. So this is the same note. This is the same B. Different strings.
Yeah.
So I keep this B rocking. And it just gives you this cool like bed to create dissonant shit off of, to create like tension, rather than doing it on 2 sides. So on that's somewhere, it's that technique somewhere.
It's like this.
Fuck, where is it? I don't know.
I was too high, dude. Dude, you should use that for the next record.
You think you like that?
I think
I was kind of embarrassed to show it to you.
It might be a hit, dude.
I was a little unsure, but okay, if we're doing that, I want your opinion on one more here.
Okay. There's one. Okay.
What do you think?
Is that the most wrong played riff of all time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm doing it
because
incorrectly.
I heard Richie Blackmore talk about it, how he plucks. I mean, you could find the interview somewhere if you want to question me. But I found an interview where he talks about it. It's like no one plays it right. Like he like plucks it. I think he did like this.
Oh, cool. That makes sense.
And he said because he was lazy, so he plucked it.
Yeah, that explains why he got that cool, like, explosive, fuzzy, like that fuzz tone on it. That actually makes sense. That's awesome. I learned something new today.
Yeah, see, I was like, oh, you pluck that riff and everyone plays it wrong?
I love Smoke on the Water lore.
Oh, dude, totally, man. Totally. And one more, like, there's a riff on the new record where it comes in clean, and then the blast comes in, and you're playing your riff. What is that?
Thank you. That is, I love that part. That was a tough sell, kind of, for the guys. They weren't sure about that one.
You kind of have to play it first.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of imagine.
Oh, hey, imagine this, Adam. I'm gonna do a clean part, and then Mouth's gonna blast.
Yeah.
And you know what, dude? Just fucking accept it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it has
it's a hard sell.
Yeah, it's a hard sell. Yeah, I think you really have it. But once the idea came to fruition, everyone was really excited about it. So, yeah, I just had blast beats have a really strong potential to be really like beautiful, in my opinion. Like there's something very meditative and driving and almost like can be soothing about a blast beat and not necessarily aggressive, almost like just kind of like a metronome, a musical one. And yeah, I just had that idea to be able to try to create this almost like heavenly, like to try to make blast beats sound beautiful. That was my goal, basically, with that. So I have, in terms of what's going on with the pedal board, we now bypass the Fortin and the Friedman, and I'm getting my cleans out of this pedal called the ACS1 by Walrus Audio. Walrus is one of my absolute favorite companies. This is a amp modeler, IR loader, all in one. I got it because two of the 3 amp models. One is a Vox AC30. It's not, they don't call it that, of course, but it's based on that. And then the other's I think a Fender Princeton, if not a deluxe reverb, one of them. So really nice cleans. So I got that. And what's cool about this pedal is you can run these amps in stereo. So I can have my AC30 on one side and my Fender on the other side. Okay. So I'm basically doing the same thing I'm doing with my high gain preamps. And that runs into the D1 and the R1 pedals, again, by Walrus. This is a delay box that has 5 different delay algorithms. The R1, same but reverb. And that with my Klein, my compressor by Michael Klein.
Michael Klein, shout out. The wizard.
Dude, he's the fucking man, dude. Thank you, Michael Klein.
Pedal ninja for sure, dude.
We've been talking about doing shit, building something together for a couple of years, and I think, just inspiration didn't strike for either of us for anything. And then when I knew I was putting this thing together, I was like, I want to hit up Michael for something. So what's a blind spot? What's one thing that I'm going to have a hard time filling? Compressor. They don't really make compressors with metal guys in mind. Traditionally, how compressors work, they operate by raising the noise floor. So they're making the quiet stuff louder, but the quiet stuff in a metal amp is also a lot of noise, right? A lot of like gain and like distortion. So a lot of times what happens if you want to run a compressor in the effects loop or in front of your, always in front of your amp, you go put one of these in front of a fucking 5150 and it's like a kill my ears button. You push it and it just goes like, because it takes all of that low, almost subharmonic noise and just fucking throws it up in your, and it just makes it noisy. Anyway, so I came to Michael Klein and I was like, hey man, can you design me a really nice open sounding compressor that can work with really high gain? And he's like, yeah, I'm on it. So great. It's working out incredibly. I'm using it for my solos on this tour and very, very happy with it. Anyway, that's the chain for the clean. And this
sounds great.
And then the next one engages a boost on the ACS one. Not killing this fast riff.
part gets super like, it kind of has like this, like, oh, we're here.
This riff is actually a really good example of the drone note, like what I'm using to create that kind of like manic, like I'm having a panic attack kind of vibe.
I'm having a panic attack right now, dude. I'm ripping. When you do those like chaos chords, it sounds, when you listen to your record, it sounds like you have like a pedal in front of it. I was like, does he have an effect every time he does those high fucking crazy like chaos chords, or no?
No, I just you know, fortunate enough to be able to make those noises. But wow. I had a really cool a guy at one of my shows the other day. God, what was it? I have a solo on the record. On the first record, it's on a song called I Drown Nightly. And it ends with this thing that goes like... You know, just like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Totally.
And he was like, it reminds me of... what I don't know what their name is, but there was like, there's a Gamora or something, like the 3-headed dragon from Godzilla.
Okay.
They're like, whenever they're like, that's what that sounds like to me. I was like, that's sick as fuck. Yeah.
Holy crap, dude.
If a cool guitar technique can sound like a giant fictional 3-headed dragon, I'm stoked.
Dude, it sounds like something. Sounds like someone's like if someone's about to kill me, that's probably what's going to happen to my body.
That's awesome.
You know, that's probably it.
So,
yeah.
And then I do a lot of pitch shifting on the new record. So I have the G sharp, and then I have the main.
Oh, shit.
And I have different EQ settings for those. So when you see, like, on that pedal, you notice when I go to this, you see more of a scooped.
It's like, whenever you open that thing up, it feels like you're opening up a fridge to get a snack.
I need to get a little, you know, it's funny that you say that. Because we
make a little snack real quick.
Adam and I have been joking about how we can make this more of like a cartoon. Yeah. And I'm like, I need to put like a coffee maker on this thing. I need to fucking get a little mini fridge where we can put a single can of soda on this thing or something.
Something, dude.
And that'd be really funny.
Dude, Kyle, thank you for playing for us. I was just, like, I'm like, how is this going to turn out? You know, but hearing this in my headphones, and it's an honor to be in front of you actually, playing.
Thank you.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you get what you get. I didn't have a lot of time to warm up, but it was it was fine. It was
cool, no warm up, all soul.
Thank you, man.
I was I have a heavy question for you. What's what was it like? Because you were addicted to pills, right?
Oh yeah,
opiates,
big time, baby.
Yeah. So you were not to call you a cliche, but it's very common when someone have surgery. And they get hooked on the opiates.
Yeah.
How did you kick that?
Just extreme dissatisfaction. Listening to my demons. You know, my demons were like, you know, calling me every name in the book. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there are those petty demons, but they're better demons that are telling you all the things that are difficult to hear, but that are true. Like, you are fucking failing yourself. You are failing everybody who's ever cared about you. You're failing. And it's easy to, I don't know, especially when you're feeling sorry for yourself or you got a good reason. You feel whatever. You know, it's hard to listen to those things. For me, for better or worse, I've always had a very easy, like a direct line to that voice that's saying, you're not doing what you should be fucking doing. And so it was interesting, man. When I started getting addicted, I knew it was happening. Like, really? I saw it coming. And I'm like, I'm slipping into this. I'm in a situation where I can't really function without the pills because I was in such severe pain. There was no way to manage the pain of the surgery or the post whatever, post-op stuff. So I'm like, okay, these are kind of with me for the moment, and this is going in a direction. It's a whole thing. We're going to see how this works out, you know? And I made a rule to myself right then and there. It's funny that you say sell your guitars. I made a rule to myself that no matter what happens, I would not sell my guitars and I would not lose my house. Those are my 2 rules to myself. Can't get rid of your guitars for drugs. And you can't lose your house. And then, about 3 months, 4 months, 5 maybe, of active every day, 350 milligrams of oxy a day, like a lot. It finally got to that point where it was like, okay, you either sell your shit and keep this going, or you fucking say, it was fun, let's go back to brutal grinding sobriety.
Wow.
And, so it was that, man. It was a wild fucking, it was, I didn't want to cold turkey the thing, but I went to the woman that I was the pain specialist that I was seeing. And I was very open with my surgeon and my pain specialist. I'm like, I'm getting addicted to these. These are becoming a problem. Like, we need to fucking, figure something out. Unfortunately, in this day and age, addiction is such a liability for health providers because they can have their license taken away if it's deemed that they were in any way contributed to the addictive status of the person. So I noticed something, probably the most heartbreaking thing, the most alienating experience was the second you become an addict, people won't even look you in the eyes anymore. They won't listen to you. They don't like, and I was a guy who was stone cold sober until I was 28 years old. I fucked around with shit when I was really young because that's just the environment I grew up in. But that's also kind of what led me to sobriety. It's like very early experimentation with this stuff and seeing what it did to my family. Booze killed my dad. Booze killed his dad. Pills killed my mama. The whole thing. It's like, and to be addicted to pills almost at 30 after seeing it take my mom out was tough. Like, talk about self-loathing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, I digress. Going back into the story of it, I went in and I was like, I'm done. I scored the last bit I'm going to score on the street. Like, I don't even have any more money to buy it. I'm out of methadone. I'm out of my methadone prescription. I was like, near the end of it, I was double fisting oxy and methadone to stretch it out. And she was like, we just don't have a bed for you. It's going to be at least until next week. And I'm like, I can't do this for another week. I can't be addicted. I can't be I was so done. It's hard to describe.
Yes.
I was just at a place where I was just like, fucking, I'm either going to die or I'm going to get sober. Like, there's no other, like, I'm fucking done, And so I'm like, I'm going to go. I had my fucking, well, the most humbling experience of my life. At that point, I felt like I was a kind of person that could kind of do anything. And, man, nothing makes you feel 5 inches tall like coming down off of an opiate addiction, man. I was crying for my mother, like, literally, just like, I was like, thought I was in hell. It was like, I didn't sleep for 8 days. When I say don't sleep, I don't mean like I nodded off a couple times. Nothing, not 1 minute of REM, just pure fucking violent consciousness for like 8 days straight. My sister's a nurse. She's begging me to go to the hospital. She's like, you're going to go crazy. Like, psychosis sits in after like 3 days. And I was seeing like race cars driving around the walls and stuff. And the last day, I was like writing. This sounds very dramatic, but it is what it is. It's just the truth. I was, writing a little suicide note in my head because I honestly did not think I'd ever sleep again. I honestly thought I fried that part of my brain that could sleep. And I was never going to sleep again. And that was so terrifying, being up for 8 days, not being able to sleep. Oh, my God, dude. And something very strange happened. On that 8th day, I got this bizarre surge of energy. And I guess it was kind of wigging my girlfriend out at the time because I guess there's this phenomenon where you, shortly before someone dies, this can happen. They get this like big burst of optimism and energy and stuff. And she's like, this is freaking me out. You shouldn't be this energetic.
What?
And I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to capitalize on this. We're going to do this shit. So we like went to Dave & Buster's. I'm on 8 days of no sleep, and I'm like, let's go to Dave & Buster's.
Great idea, man.
So we go to Dave & Buster's, of course, and we're driving back from Dave & Buster's after spending a couple hours there, and I drive an old Trans Am at home, and a guy in a Harley pulled up next to the Trans Am and was like, you guys going to see Alice in Chains tonight? And Alice in Chains was my mom's favorite fucking band, and it's like a big favorite of mine. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what are the fucking odds, dude? I was like feeling real close to my mother at that time because I was like flirting with death, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was like, that was almost like a sign to me, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm going to that fucking show. And my girlfriend had to work that night, so she didn't get to go, but I drop her off. I drive out to Washington to go see Alice in Chains. I pull out my credit card because at this point, I'm not even thinking about having to pay shit off. So I'm just like, give me the sickest fucking seat that you have. I want front row. Like I want as close to the front as you can. I don't give a fuck how much it costs. Sick. Just put it on there. And man, I went in there. My mom was a big Pepsi head, so I bought 6 cans of Pepsi, and I just sat by myself in the front row and slammed Pepsi and watched Alice in Chains on 8 days of no sleep. And it was a religious experience, you know. I was so fucking out of my head. I was almost in it was almost like an out of body experience, man. Even thinking back to it almost feels like a dream. And I was going to drive back home. I was living in Seattle at the time. I was like, I got to get back up there. I don't know why. That was in my head. And my girlfriend was begging me, just fucking please don't drive to Washington. Please come back to Portland. I'm like, no, I'm going to go. And I drive. I'm going north for a minute, and then I look at the exit signs, and I'm going south. Like I swore I was going north, and I ended up going south. And I took that as a sign. I was like, there's something, whether it's my subconscious
something
or
else
whatever.
Driving you.
I was like, something was saying, don't go to Washington, go home. So I did, and I slept that night for the first time in 8 days, and that's kind of when it all turned around. It didn't get easy, but that's when I knew I was gonna survive it, you know. But I would say I've told people, even with 3 months in the hospital, no food, no water, I would do that 8 more times before I did that one more time. Those 8 days, there's never been, man, that was a situation that made me feel like, maybe it's not always the case that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Because if this is making me stronger, it's far down the road. You know what I mean? Because that took chunks out of me. That took fucking, I'm still fucked up from PTSD from that shit. The fucking weird ghouls and goblins and anxieties and fucking weird fucking animal shit, just it's just not.
It changed you.
It changes you. Oh yeah. Some things for the best. I mean, I think in a way, I'm grateful. There are silver linings of drug addiction, and I think if you make it through, you tell yourself something very, very powerful when you choose your own vitality over bliss. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that takes I think you get to learn how much you love yourself if you can make it through that. I think people are asleep to how much they care about themselves, and drug addiction, kind of like you hear people say tragically, it's like someone jumping off a bridge and realizing halfway down that they want to live. Drug addiction is like that in a way, but you get the chance to choose again. You know what I mean? Unlike the person that jumps off the bridge, you get so close to your own mortality and being so removed from yourself that you start to not take for granted what you are and what you have access to. So in a way, I feel much more attached to life. I feel much more responsible for myself after I went through that brutal act of self-love by getting off of the thing that You know, there's a pop band from the UK called the 1975, and I got into them. It was perfect timing. They had their vocalist had got out of rehab from a heroin addiction.
Oh God!
And wrote an album about it. And he has a song called "It's Not Living If It's Not With You," and it's about heroin. And he says, "Every day, I might be ruining this, so don't get on me, any big fans of the band, but it's something like this: that every day I have to live with the terrible truth that it's just not living if it's not with you." And it's such a powerful line. I think anyone who's recovering understands what that is that you have to live every day knowing how good life could be if you were stoned. You know what I mean? Because no one wants to talk about it, but yeah, drugs feel fucking great. That's why people get addicted to them. They don't feel great for very long. That's the thing. You're going to have the best 3 weeks of your life, and then it's hell. And then it's going to be the worst 5 years of your life. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's powerful, but it is fleeting, and it takes so much more than it gives, you know? And that's the wisdom. It's not that drugs aren't fucking cool or whatever they are. They're just not worth what they take from you. It's just that simple. Like, it's just the current. It doesn't add up, you know?
Thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just curious because, like, anyone that's like is able to kick opiates, like, I'm just like, wow, how do they do it?
Stubbornness.
Stubborn?
Stubborn. Fuck yeah. This is why I'm such a proponent of like the dark part. People always want you to harness your light to make it through things. Find love. Find the positive thing. That doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, it might work for other people. I have to get mad. I have to be like, you're not fucking doing this. You're not going out like this, you piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I have that conversation with myself. Therapists might not approve of that method. I get that. But for me, it works. And for me, it feels like it's coming from a place of love. It doesn't feel like I'm tearing myself down. It feels like by telling myself I am better than this, that's love to me. So I was like, oh, it's okay. I understand you have reasons to throw your life away. I understand. Like, that's not love. Like, I don't want to make someone feel comfortable disintegrating. You know what I mean? Like, that's not, like, I want to fucking dig my claws into them and pull them out and throw them into the field. You know what I mean? So they're not fucking, like, to me, that's love, you know, even if they're kicking and screaming all the way through, you know? So I tried to do that for myself, you know? It was just like, if you're not gonna do it to be happy, do it to not be a fucking coward.
Exactly. Yeah, it takes someone that's not going to be a coward to do that. It's essentially because, I mean, even dying, that's just the coward way out.
Yeah, if you're not, man. Yeah, man. I mean, you got work to do, you know? And so it's a lot of hard work to find out what that work is. It takes a lot of self-inquiry and shit, but I think a lot of people that kill themselves, they do it because they don't know what else to do. I get it. This modern world doesn't give us a lot of purpose. It almost feels like it's engineered to strip us of purpose, you know, to keep us from knowing that we're meant to be doing something else. And my encouragement to any youth, and not even just youth, but if you feel like you struggle with a death urge, I'd encourage you to consider that might be, like we were talking about, listening to your demons, that it might be telling you something true, but it's likely not asking you to experience a physical death, but like a spiritual death or an intellectual death or some kind of death of your programming, whether it be from your community or your parents or the television saying you're not what you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? You need to kill something. You need to destroy something in yourself so there's room for the real thing.
Totally.
And for me, that was my big revelation, was like, I've struggled with the death urge my whole life. I mean, I've struggled with suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation, all the ideation. And, you know, the thing that freed me from that, you know, really freed me from that, was finally realizing that suicidal urge was not the physical end of my life. You know what I mean? It was to finally let other parts of myself go so that the right things can emerge.
Yeah. They They say that, huh? Like a part of you has to die for the other part of yourself to come out, and then I could manifest into temper tantrums or mental breakdowns
hugely
because you're trying to change, and there's a part of you inside that wants you to stay the same. So you have like this freak out moment.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I think like psychological breaks can be the best thing that ever happened. Going crazy could be the best thing that's ever happened to somebody. Yeah, because that's the reckoning, right? That's the two. You have this thing that you think you're supposed to be, and you have this thing that you are. Yeah. And the more variety there are between those two, the greater the distance, the worse the mental turbulence. So as that reaches a fever pitch, when that cognitive dissonance gets so bad, when you're living a way that is misaligned with your values, there's not enough. What was that? There ain't enough room in this town for the both of us, partner.
100%.
You know, it's like that. It's that. So it's like they're going to just shatter you eventually. Something's just going to go, push, and your whole notion of what you are and what's real and fucking whether you're a good person or a bad person or doing what you're whatever. That fracture, that kind of falling apart of all these pieces gives you the beautiful opportunity to pick the pieces you want and reconstruct it, you know?
True, man.
So just go through. The only way out is through, man. Go. If you think you're going crazy, go fucking crazy. You know, just don't hurt. Try not to hurt anybody. Yeah. But, you know, like just fucking get, like, your bad things can lead to good things.
Very true, man.
You know, painful things can lead to freedom.
That's very true.
They often do.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, man. When did the record come out?
I believe it was January 24th.
January. Cool. Everyone needs to check it out, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, Kyle, we're going on 2 hours here.
Yeah.
Let's cap it off. Any closing thoughts? Anything that I might have missed?
Dude, I don't think you missed really anything. It was a fantastic interview. Thank you for the really.
Anytime, man. Thank you.
It was a great opportunity. These are as much as I like talking about gear and I do and death metal and all that stuff, I do. I mean, it's my favorite shit in the world. But this stuff is the most important stuff for me to talk about publicly, you know, because...
especially on a day off. I'm sorry. you and your band and your team was here helping us up, like helping us hook all the shit up. I felt so bad. I felt fucking bad.
Oh no, dude, Gino loves that shit. No, it's all. Don't feel bad, man. I'm glad that we had. That's cool. If it wasn't a day off, we probably I wouldn't have been as relaxed, and probably the conversation wouldn't have flowed as well because I'm nervous about the fucking making the show and stuff. So
true, man.
I think it really worked out.
Where can people find you and the band?
Oh, geez. Everywhere. Fucking Spotify. Do you mean like on tour or like all over the place?
Yeah, audio socials.
Tour, yeah.
What do you want people
we got
to
it. We got it. What do you want? We got the Facebook. We got the Instagram. We got the fucking website over here. We got fucking. We on tour. We travel around the country playing our rock and roll tunes. We're on the road right now with Goat Whore and Thanti Faxath. Necrofire is going to be jumping on in a week or two. And we got 10 shows in. We got like 35 to fucking go. It's a big one.
I know, it's a long time. Crazy.
Yeah. So if you want to come out and see the spaceship, see all the buttons, see the Las Vegas of pedal boards at my feet,
that's the way to put it.
Come check out some new songs, hang out. You know, it'll be sick. Come check it out. I said all the other stuff, right? Apple and Spotify and fucking. If you can find music on it, Vitriol is probably on it.
You're there. Cool. Kyle, it's great hanging out with you, man. I'm honored.
I very much likewise, honestly, you know.
Hell yeah. All right, everyone, that's it. Vitriol, later.